Welcome, everyone, to the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity, Day 8. This is the morning session for Wednesday, July 12th, 2017. And this is a presentation of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, which I think we can hear him in the background here. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to go with today's teaching?
Yes, good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever and whenever you listen. Please, you welcome to these teachings as we see what and how and things are happening. We understand more and more in what we are about to do. What I've decided, and as you know, when I disclose some informations, I see it appropriate to be discussed and explored and in a way be brought out into public. Today we have a lot of teaching to do, in a way re-educating, re-explaining, and these things one by one comes important for us in how we see and how we understand the technology. There has been part of the what I call knowledge of physics, which I have always kept away from public, even in my books, because to me, this knowledge should have been kept into the knowledge of the space. And now that we speak about the soul and the space technology, it's time to be brought out. As I said, I always thought according to the understanding of the people. I never thought if it could not be understood, or I thought the intelligence is not there to carry. The science of plasma physics, science of nuclear physics, science of understanding the motion of fields in the universe is much, much more complex than one man has thought and has engaged himself in. It's not what has been, and in all my teachings, I have broken into new frontiers to extend and expand and deliver more in-depth knowledge. As we said, the purpose of these 30 days, 35 days teaching is to achieve peace through the soul of the man, and if we can carry governments. But main part of the backbone of these teachings are to teach the new science, which is science of soul, understanding of the operation and position of the soul of the man within the structure of the man. What is interesting for us is so much to teach more in depth and open a new chapter, a new understanding. We can open this chapter of understanding because now we have managed and we are in the process of understanding more. If I would have disclosed this 5 or 10 years ago, it would not have been understood. But as we all have seen, one teaching will lead to the other, and collectively we learn more. From one we learn, and from the other one we confirm its validity. One of the main things in the world of nuclear physics and space physics, even in plasma physics, there is a lot of discrepancies. We had to go that path to put right what has been put wrong and teach more in the depth of understanding the knowledge. What I will discuss or explore or try to explain is a massive breakthrough in the world of nuclear physics, in the plasma physics. The reason I disclose, as I said, once I teach one, the soul of the man hears, and this is what is going to happen. I have taught a couple of people today the knowledge because I see it's the time to break through. And at the same time, I explain this in a very much in-depth knowledge. What this means is what about to be disclosed as a science of space and plasma technology is what now you understand, because now you have seen the work of the soul of the man. You can relate to it. This means you can understand what it means, and you have a replication of it that you can follow, because it's there, because you see it, because you understand it. And this is important for us. Can you please put my second screen on sound, please? This is important that we, as in total, understand the new development. We understand what is going to be discussed. It will change a lot in the world of physics, in the world of plasma physics, in the world of science, and then if you can understand, it brings new dimension to the world of science as we know it. I could not write this in the books of the past but in so many ways I have referred to this in the books and in writing. I have spoken about it in a very different way in the paper called Interatomic Fusion. In the teaching of the soul of the man and creation of the division, and in some cases we have seen this in practicality with some physical tests by a number of people. It is important for us to go into the details of understanding of the interaction of the field forces of the universe. In deep space, field forces interact according to their strength and according to interaction of the different strengths. What this means you can have field forces of different strength interacting. It's not as they'll pass or the friction will be totally massive. It could mean at different strength to build up to the final strength, there are a number of fields can interact with each other, which means even though in totality fields are not matching, but within the structure they have fields, magnetic and gravitational, which in some length or some strength are of the same. This means that there is a partial interaction in the fields and there is a partial work in understanding. This is important because when you go into the plasma physics, you leave the matter physics miles away, far behind than what you could imagine. But itself, it will lead back to what you left behind. This is the beauty of it. This is what it will bring a massive change in the understanding of world of physics, plasma physics, deep space travel, transportation. What you call plasma transportation is much faster what you call teletransportation. These things are what I'm going to teach in the next few days, because in teaching these, and those of you who have seen it, it brings a new dimension in the world peace, which means we can deliver packages of energies anywhere across this planet, anywhere across this universe. And then at the point of arrival, the energy delivery is so vast that does not destroy, but in a way like a sugar in hot water, it dissolves. You can still taste the sugar, you know it existed, but it's not in the block you put it in. Defense technology of the space needs this. Long distance, deep haul travels in the deep space does not allow you to get and then decide. You have to decide this is the strength of the path I need, and I have to take myself through it. Which means I have, let's say, a strength level of 3 in gravitational magnetic field. I have to be at 4, and any space below or above 4, I handle at the space 10, which means anything in my path will become irrelevant. Those of you who come to become part of the space technology development in transportation, plasmatization, which is you transport everything through plasma, you'll come to understand this. In one of the books, in a nutshell, I have referred this, that you can put something in a package and then send the package. Whatever is in it stays independent of what is outside. This is what a planetary system is. This is what we call independent entity, but with a speed of its own, which means we can travel this space in no time. We can deliver energies in no time. We can travel at the speeds beyond the imagination of human race because we never knew we have access to such a beautiful energy, to such a beautiful free line of communication. Can you please connect my second screen again? In this process, we have to understand a new definition of a lot of things which we took for granted. What this means? It means that the whole scientific books when it comes to plasma technology is very different than the material technology. I presume a lot of you would have understood this by now, and a lot of you would have expected such a thing to manifest itself. What does this mean? I hope the screen doesn't shut down, but if it does, we try to keep the fingerprint. This is very important. This is absolutely vital for us to be at this point. What this means, we should be able to understand, we should be able to comprehend the totality of the knowledge which is to be disclosed. Now you see a clear difference between the matter state physics, plasma physics, and what I call work of the universe. Every time we try to explain the next step, every time we go to the next step of knowledge, we find out similarities, but a line of continuity. If you remember in one of the first teachings, when I drew from galaxy to human and thereon, there was a lot of questions. How do we know? When do we change? Where do we change? To what extent do we change? These all became a question. These all became needing further investigation. If you remember, in the present world of physics, we consider something very simple. We say, from the physics point of view, we have a neutron which divides into electron and a proton. And then in time, both electron and neutron that they themselves will divide in the subdivisions, and then thereon. The most important point for all of us is to understand that everything on this planet needs understanding of totality, needs understanding of the whole structure of the science of physics. This means we need to be able to hold on to what we have, to what we can, and to what we hold on to. It is for us important to be able of world of physics have to have and will follow the same principle of the game of magnetic gravitational fields of the universe. It is important for all of us to be able to understand how far we can extend this. I try to go on the screen because it's important for you to understand this. It's absolutely vital for us to understand the progress. It is important for us to be able to read the information that the information in its entirety on the screen. I try again to get the screen. I hope we don't fall out again. And if you do, please take a snapshot. Thank you very much. Please understand what is about to be explained. This breaks all the known world of plasma physics, all the knowledge in the present world of physics. But you all can relate to it, you can all understand it, and in the years to come, the world of physics and physicists and plasma physicists will bash their head against each other. How could it be? But you have a reference. I will explain to you now how you can understand it. In the world of present physics, we consider a neutron. In the present world of physics, we have accepted the theoretical basis that this neutron on its decay, it divides into a proton and electron. We accept that in the process of division, what we'll receive and what we will see is that the material of the content of the yes.
We lost your screen share. Oh, there we go. It's coming back now.
Yes, it's falling out. I'm working on a handset separate than the what do you call it? Than the screen. I have to do. I hope I don't lose it. I hope I do not lose it. Because if I lose it, then I have a bit of a problem.
We see it now. We see your screen share.
Okay. You see my screen share. I go back again. I hope it doesn't disappear this time again. As I said, the proton, the electron. There is a fundamental question to ask. We know at the same time some energy is released. There's a huge question mark in the theoretical application of this division. There's a huge question mark. The structure of the technology of understanding of the physics has to be on reality, not on assumption. It has to be on totality. It has to be continuous, that it can be followed and be acceptable. It has to be on the basis that we can go from one line to another. It has to be on the basis that we can replicate it. We can follow it and find replication of it. It has to be on the basis that not only the present science can understand, but becomes a foundation for the next generation of the physics or any other subject. In the present world of physics, there has been huge assumptions, and we have followed it through. We cannot do so anymore. We cannot understand what the difference shall be. Just 1 second, please. I have to do something here because otherwise we're going to keep on losing every time I start writing. One of the main problems with us and with this line of teaching has been that the science and understanding of present science has created a fundamental flaw that we have to put it right. As I'm going to draw it again, in the nuclear physics, we have accepted the division of a neutron. We have accepted loss of some energy. We have not understood exactly, again, what is inside this thing. We assumed that a neutron is a plasma like this. If we look in what we have learned, and if we go in the depth of what we have learned from the creation of rotating plasmas, from the interaction of the soul of the man, we come to a new understanding. This is where the division in the world of plasma physics brings a lot of reality in the creation of new technology. Understanding both, we have to accept the reality. And that is, a neutron itself has a central field force, what we call the black hole of the neutron, where the full field forces have to be to hold on to the structure of the neutron itself. So if you understand this, we come to a totally new physics, a new understanding, and this new phenomenon understanding gives us a very new insight. And then in the space technology, we can apply this. In fact, what happens, what we see to become an electron is the mother, the seed center of the neutron. It's this which breaks through and then on its own takes its place. That's why what you call in the present physics, one is smaller by dimension, but it can keep constant space and position from the center, where the bigger carries the major mass, but the smaller carries the stronger mass. So what we come to understand, the field forces come back together. So in fact, what we see for the creation of electron is the center point of the neutron, which is itself in what we call in the plasma of physics up to now, and what we saw in the construction of the soul of the man to be the center point, which as it finds its new dimension in respect to its environment, then it releases itself and it divides. If you go back to the soul of the man, why the soul of the man leaves the body of the man at the point of death is because exactly what we see in neutron. The field forces around it to hold it lose their strength because the blood vessels around the brain lose the heartbeat. And that heartbeat changes the condition within the brain and allows the division or the center to release itself. This is in line exactly what we see in the world of neutron and soul of the man from the physicality of the man. There are 2 points which has to be understood. Does this soul itself become the center of creation of another? Now we understand more. Now we understand that for now that we understand the operation of the plasma and the soul and the structure of the cores which you have made, the single core cannot be any different with a gans material inside it, which is the essence of the creation, any different than what we see in the world of reality, in the world of plasma physics, as we have understood and we can show. One of the reasons, as I explained, is most fundamental for us to understand that the soul leaves the body of the man when the heart stops, is that because the environmental pressure of the gravitational magnetic field, which is holding and feeding, is not there anymore. So the soul has to find a new position, a new division. This is why in the new knowledge and with the new technology and photographic systems we have, we can see the departure of the soul of the man from the brain of the man, from the head of the man through his brain continuously. In a coming time, we can indicate exactly when to call a physical body a non-functional, or we say it has ceased to live on this dimension. This is a huge, huge break away from what has been assumed up to now in the world of physics and in the world of what we call theology, in the world of creation. This is important because in this process, we need to be able to understand the totality. We went from the matter, we created the GANs, we created the magnetic gravitational field, we created the condition that fields in liquid condition of the body of a reactor, creating the hollow center, which is the controller of the totality as it creates gravitational magnetical field positioning. then we understand. Simply, we have to rewrite the books of physics. Or, in a way, we have to add to the knowledge of present physics. We have assumed that neutron divides into electron and a proton, but we could never define what was inside which came to the division. Now, for the first time, we can explain. We are going more in depth into the plasma physics. If you look in the totality of what we had, in simplicity, now we can go a step further in the total construction of the neutron. As a plasma physicist, for me, this was clear in my second, third year of education in Queen Mary College. This is what I asked my professors. Explain to me what's inside there. Nuclear we understand, but we can't accept it. I could explain it, I could see it, I could understand. If a neutron leads to a proton and electron, so electron should have had its own existence prior to departure. How come they're all the same size? How come they have the same strength? For 40 years, I knew the answer. But now, as I've educated you, you know the answer too. In fact, what sits in the middle as what we call the soul, which is itself totally a strong field, becomes the electron. What we see as the fields of energy which comes out is the opening of the passage of the truth for electron to be. Now, the whole process has to redo itself and find itself a new balance. So, shall electron find its own center again, till the time comes that the field energies of around will change. Can I have, I'm going to try to switch over if I don't get lost because I have to renew one line, please. So what we understand, it's the simplicity of the knowledge which we have been missing. Now, the world of physics needs addition to its present knowledge. Now, we have, for the first time, look inside in what we have learned through GANs, through plasma technology, through new understanding of field forces which he holds on and creates the sphere or the condition of the plasma, needs to reconsider, to add to the knowledge. We need to do so. We have to do so. We have no choice. Otherwise, we are stuck to the past. We understand it, we see it, we observe, we absorb, we see everything which is with it and works within it. And now we have to accept the next step. For the first time, we understand what an electron is, where it comes from, what is the source of it. We just don't accept the neutron and the proton divides. And then they divide again. And then they divide again. So with the new present physics, and with what we add to the knowledge, it becomes essential for us to see the similarities, to see the work, to see the reality in the totality of the knowledge. So, from now on, we add a new chapter to nuclear plasma technology. And that is, now we know every time a division comes is when the environmental conditions around change or absorb, and in that process, the center, the pressures which hold together the ganses of the matter strength fields changes. So it gives a more powerful center, a chance to be released. It forces it to be released because it cannot hold to the condition which it had before. So by time we come to understand, we have entered a new era of physics, a new understanding, where at this point now this new center has to create balance between its fields, and it was with the others he start creating his own central field forces. These are essential if we travel into the space through time and through depth of the space. What does this gives you? How can you apply this? How can you use this in the space technology that allows you to travel with the speeds beyond the imagination of the human race? This is how this universe was created. This is how, when the central point of the unicos, of another neutron, another universe divided, the place in them is taken place, and we see our universe. The same here. This one is an amalgamation. So it does not have that much power to it, but it has a volume to it. Where this one has a speed, this one has conjecture, this one, if understood, becomes the new way to travel at a higher speed with a higher strength. Where, in fact, if you look, the field forces of this, if I can draw it, in trying to establish the next sphere, push the material at the highest speed. If man understands this, if man comes to comprehend the work of the forces, as you call the soul of the man with the body of the man, and the trajectory of the soul from the body of the man, which is exactly the same as if you had a craft, you could create field forces within the center, that by change of the fields, you change variation on the atmospheric condition or boundary condition of the fields you have created, man will be trajectoried into the deep space in the speeds beyond imagination of the man. It's you who dictates the direction of the flow. It's you who decides the speed of the trajectory. This is how in space you can send packages of energy, information, whatever, from an aircraft, from what I call a spaceship. If you release such energy in the depth of the space, now you can see the weapon technology of today is obsolete. The mass energy released into any environment makes even the weapon nuclear
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think he's temporarily.
Then we come to understand we have developed new space system, the new space travel system, new space even communication system. Because if you refine this and you can create a condition of both gravitational and magnetic field of trajectories, zero time communication is the name of the game. This is what a number of governments and nations will be interested to understand how we can develop, how we can extend the knowledge to the point that we become, in a way, totally free from time and space, free from the energies of space. The space and time, when you can create such a position, will confirm to man one point, and that is, it's time for man to enter the dimensions of the space travel. It's time that, more or less, if you can dictate the plasma structure, center, the what are called the nucleus, or what you call the principle of strength, you can travel within the depth of the universe. Remember one thing which I taught you yesterday. You remember the brain with the soul, where the copy of the what was on the brain, what we indicated was within the soul, so shall be the information within the plasma of the neutron, or the space, which can travel beyond the imagination of the man. We
Hello,
need
Mr.
this space. We need this understanding now, with a new understanding of the structure of the soul of the man, with understanding of the time and the space which one travels in, to extend the knowledge in plasma physics. This has huge applications. If man understands this knowledge, one can release so much energy within the structure of a neutron that can literally supply nations for centuries. Don't forget, we talk about one nation, one planet. You may understand the implication and understanding. There are a number of these resources in the universe which man has not understood to tap into yet. We look for nuclear technology, but these are the centers of the energy in the universe which continuously feed the human race on this planet. Now, with the knowledge we have disclosed, it should be easy in the coming time for man to tap into these universal energy resources and be able to produce or receive as much energy as he needs. Very much, we come to the point of development of, instead of nuclear reactors or whatever, we come to the point of delivery of the space energy systems, which means we can absorb with a new technology the energies of the universe, and then tap into this. The resources and the understanding has to be there. The totality of the knowledge has to be there that you can relate to, that you can go further. If you remember, some of our people in the process of testing, they reported loss of the reactor's center cores. And they didn't know where it was and where it could be. If you remember, in running a reactor core, the center core was never found. This is exactly what has happened. The creation of the field so much that has forced the trajectory with its own plasmatic gravitational field that no matter exists. Because the field strength is so much higher that does not allow any other process. Now you understand. Gradually, the physics of plasma becomes very sweet to understand. This has been clear to me for over 30, 40 years. I understood it at very young age that, and this is what I was always discussing with the nuclear physicists and the other scientists. The present physics does not answer. But in so many ways, if we could all understand this, it brings a lot of changes. It brings a lot of new understanding. You can trajectory this into anything you like. It will not destroy, but in a way, it delivers such a huge amount of energy that by itself the entity cannot accept. And then in that process, the entity will come to receive a higher energy, and by doing so, it creates a totally new dimension. And this is what we have been trying to explain, and this is what it has been done up to now. The process of understanding is simple. The addition to the knowledge for those who have become nuclear physicists and atomic physicists, now that we have taught further and deeper into knowledge of the plasma and the soul, we can go from one to another. We can go to the depth of the reality to understand that the new dimension, the new tools of a space for man is so much easier to operate under, that does not need anything but the total understanding of the structure of the physical entities in dimension of the plasma strength. Any questions before I go any further and lose a lot of you?
Sir, we lost your video and your audio quite a bit in your explanation, so we missed quite a
Hello.
bit of the concepts.
Sorry, I can barely hear you there, John.
I say we missed part of your video and your
Hello.
audio, and it's the most important part of the audio, the explanation, the concepts.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Mr. Keshe, can you hear me?
Yes, I had you on the mute. I'm trying to
Okay.
work with two systems here. Carry on, please.
John was just stating that it was hard to hear some of the things that you were showing us and presenting here and teaching because of the cutouts.
So what shall we do? Shall we go home and come back tomorrow? Maybe human race was not ready to hear that part.
Well, maybe we just have to work it through a little more in more detail.
We have an unstable set today, and this is causing problem. With both systems, we have unstable condition. Maybe, as I said, man wasn't ready for decades and centuries. Maybe it's not ready yet again.
Well,
What we
perhaps,
explain, what I have explained is that the process of the division of the neutron, for the first time we can explain, that is the center of neutron itself. As you look at the structure of the cores, rotating cores, which they have a center, and the fields, and then you have the matter states or the Gans state. As by rotation you create a center, the way we have seen and we explained in the structure of the soul of the man, in the brain of the man. Now we understand the center of the neutron is the same, and he has a center, where by the change of the fields in his environment, then the center divides, and the balance of the energy, what is left here, becomes the proton, and what is in the center is electron, with a higher power that it can carry on with its random motion. In fact, if we look, we understand the whole three are the same. In the life of the man, when the blood circulation, which is surrounding the brain of the man, changes through the misfunctioning or stoppage of the heart, the environment changes and forces the release of the soul into a new dimension. So the creation of the soul and the division, or the, not the creation, the release of the soul from the central structure of the physicality of the man, the same way as a neutron division, which is electron and proton, is exactly the same. And then, as I explained, if you remember, some of us who did the test, creating deliberately a center core, a second core, and a third core, or we had a center core created in the middle, we have found some of our cores have disappeared, or we have lost them, we cannot find them. They have gone through the same process, where the field forces in the surrounding has forced the trajectory process. So in all three, the creation of the release of the solar man and the division of the neutron, are in the same as with the cores, where we see the release of the inner core is all the same. Now we understand. But now once we understood this, and we can elevate the knowledge of the man, we can dictate on the direction of this trajectory, or on the direction of the release of what you call the electron. This gives man a new dimension in the world of physics, a new understanding, and this will be written in the books of physics as a new chapter, going further into the structure of the material, going further in the structure of the plasma technology. As I said, plasma technology is the next step after atomic and nuclear. Now we spoke with the fields, now we have to speak. When we say nuclear, it means we deal with the nucleus. Now we are going inside the nucleus, and we have parallels, so we can relate one to another. We can go from macro to micro, we can go from the brain of the man into the neutron structure and the man-made system, which confirms and complies with the same rules and regulations in the space. This is what, as I said, will shock the world of nuclear physics. For the first time, not only we say neutron is a plasma, electron is a plasma, proton is a plasma, we can show the birth of proton and electron, we can show how and where they are. In fact, it's the center itself which, due to the change in the surrounding, in the strength, gets released. And in its release, trying to find a new balance, it creates a new life for itself. And this comes back to be the same. That's why we see not much change in the size of the electron, proton and neutron, because it's the center which has changed, and now this in rotation, and the forces from this have to create a second process, and this will go on. It's the same as the creation of life on this planet and the universe. But if we understand and we can use, dictate the direction of the flow of the release of even our own spaceship within the plasma which we created, where we make our craft to be the center with the massive field forces around it and dictating the release direction, we can travel the spans of universe beyond imagination of the man. And this is where we are going to. But at the same time, once we understand this, It opens a new era in the world of the peace. With this, we can release so much energy that no weapon, present weapon made by man, will be able to stand the energy release at this level, be it electron or proton. So if I change my jacket doesn't disappear. It becomes a jacket of a aircraft carrier. The central depletes all energy from every element. Now you understand. We said when we put an item in our mouth, the minute it enters the mouth of the man, because of the Gans condition of the body of man, it starts behaving as a Gans and not as matter. So shall be the battleships. Go back 2-3 years ago. I gave a warning to the Israeli government. I feel sorry for those mothers that they never see their daughters who are in the submarines in the Persian Gulf. If anything released to damage the integrity of territory of Iran. This is the technology. This is not new, but for the first time we release it. In a way, when you see the Russian crafts flying over, they do nothing. They create a field, and as they flew out of it, the field surrounds and they move out of it and they release it. They become the trajectory. And in so many ways, as electron can control the size of the proton and its position, so can the craft. The new space technology needs this, because when we travel into space, we have to be to isolate. You travel in deep space, and as you are going through, if this is your spaceship, and as you're traveling in that direction, there are fields which you recognize through understanding of other teachings which you do in the future. The field plasma in this zone is, let's say, a virus like, let's say, HIV, or another virus. What you need to go through it, that you can attract it or be affected by it. But in a way, by releasing yourself at higher speed in a different direction, you cluster it with your own system. You encapsulate it. Same time, you create a directional motion. You have to remember, in the plasma physics, in the space technology, the craft always is as bottom of, not in the present aircraft industry that we see tail, where the craft is at the front. These are the new knowledge. These are what we need to know, but we can use it for application and implication of peace on this planet. We can literally write off any present technology, because there is one factor, one big element in this, and that is the wish of the man is peace, and that peace carries the signature of this system. Which means that no harm shall be done. You can deliver a space system into any aircraft carrier. And then what happens? Then we need to understand Mr. Valentine, we have and will push, we ask you to leave. If this carries on, if you have a question, respect what the website managers are doing in the background. He is not Mr. Valentine Rosman. You're not official KF, and we will make a complaint for your withdrawal. If you come across a gentleman called Valentine Rosman, this is a fraud website. You work with us, you comply with the regulations and rules of the foundation. I'm getting notice in the background that you are pushing. You cannot do so. Please block. You can leave. If you follow, follow the rest. This is a common teaching ground, not for you to dictate what you want to do. Now you understand the totality of the work of the Keshe Foundation. Now you understand how we add freely to the knowledge. How we add directly and correctly to the knowledge of the science of the man. If we understand what has been taught in past few minutes, in this morning session, you understand there is a new chapter opens in the world of plasma and in the world of present physics. Any questions?
This is John here again. Is this also the principle of the bilocation?
I never heard of that. Enlighten us.
Well, bilocation is apparently what spiritual people have done in history, of being in two places at the same time.
This is not such a thing. We are talking about the structure of the plasma physics. You cannot be in two places. It's in one place on its own. How can it be in two places? This is plasma physics. Is understanding of the work of the fields and how you can use one to create the other. If you look at it, it's like a cannon operation where the bullet is inside. But this time the bullet is not harmful because it's a balanced energy. It only creates a balance in its environment.
Yes, yeah, sorry.
So this is not what we are talking about.
When the soul or the Caroline core or the electron comes out of the neutron, there's certain information that remains back in the neutron, doesn't it?
It's not the same, is it? When you talk, but in two places, you're going to be exactly the same. Otherwise, you leave your body one place and your brain somewhere else. But your soul somewhere else.
But you could regenerate a secondary neutron through the proton that's left back.
You could do, you can do, but it does not carry the same.
So it'll regenerate a center, and that center may be different.
It's the center, in a way, if you look at it, you are taking plasma, you allow it to centralize, and you take the strongest out. Again, you do the same filtering. You filter the strength, the higher strength. You can repeat and repeat and repeat till you reach the strength of the soul of, let's say, a galaxy. Then, if you put this new strength inside your cores, Now you can travel at the strength of the galaxies to galaxies. This is what it means. In the future, when man understands this process of division and division, if you remember yesterday what we explained, or the day before, where there was the brain and we said it creates fields, and the, what we call it, the brain part takes the weakest, so the center stays, the strongest become the soul. It's the same process of the understanding further on. So if you go, if the man becomes more and more intelligent, that it can further push this to keep on picking up the best, the strongest, then you reach a position that you can travel within the universes. This is a teaching for our souls in the dimension of the universe, or the universal community. There are those who have reached the level of new understanding, and this is the explanation of it, for them to go into another level. For man, there is a passage to go through. Don't forget, when you teach universal language, you teach knowledge of the universe, you teach the totality. When you teach in a conference, first class student, a professor, a mechanic, an electrical engineer, all in there. Each one takes knowledge according to their understanding. What we explain, what it is here, is the trajectory of cleaning more and more. This I was explaining to Arman this morning. This is important, because now you can clean out the new fuels for the space technology. This is what we need to do. This is what is essential for the expansion of the knowledge of the man. So what you do, you keep on considering this to be the new neutron. In a trajectory, you create, you filter. It's a plasma filtering. It's a new structure, higher strength, deeper and deeper. And then when you come to the point of the central field forces of the universe, that's the time when you go back to the universe. Now you understand the logical explanation, what I was teaching a couple of days ago, last week. Now you see the filtration. Now you understand when I said we go more in depth of the knowledge, that you understand more and more. As long as you don't become the same strength, but in a way of the center, there is no way. Birds with birds, fox with foxes. At this point, you have not reached the totality of the gravitational field forces of the central galaxy and central universe and central unicos. So this way, now you understand. This is a filtration. This is understanding. But at the same time, because you now understand this, you can apply it in different ways. It's the same knowledge. Depends what you want to do with it. Use it for speed, use it for transportation, use it for communication in small packages, use it for isolation, because you go for the smaller, but you can use the bigger to isolate. Does not necessarily you want to go to there, but in that position you need to isolate fields which can be harmful to you, because when you do that, you centralize their fields. So now there is not much to come to you. These are part of the deep space technology. As I said, I'm the master in the world of physics and the plasma technology. I come from the creator and I teach the same. It's for the man to understand. This knowledge has never been open to the man, but if, as I said, we take you to space, you have to understand the rules of the space, how to protect yourself, how to be able to travel. Don't waste 24 hours to get from New York to Tokyo, or to Sydney, or to God knows Tehran. The deepest space, or if you go by the new present knowledge what's available, and we get ridiculous figures of 100,000 light years. What the, God knows what. Where do they come up with this nonsense? Because they never had the insight to the true knowledge of physics and plasma of the universe. Now we have. space travel from one galaxy to another, if you understand the filtering, is to the man's knowledge, milliseconds. Now you want to travel 100,000 light years? A billion generation of man have to produce and hope to get to somewhere to see something? What a ridiculous assumption. It's not ridiculous because you didn't have the knowledge. Now you have, now you can do. But first of all, you have to understand the ethos of this is peaceful application. I've been teaching the development of the new space reactor, the spaceships, in the past couple of days in a very deep way. There are those who I'm touching and I'm teaching, and I bless their souls to understand very quickly. We are going through a phase of teaching in a very, very deep way. In a way that there's only one option, and that's the option of understanding knowledge, and that's the option of understanding the knowledge because of its magnitude and order. It can only be used for peaceful application because it doesn't deliver anything to harm. A lot of you have been looking how to filter hydrogen and tritium and deuterium and the rest. If you understand this, the process is a new filtering system. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, there's a question regarding mobile phones. Can this new knowledge be applied in mobile phones? And can the billions of mobile devices become transformed to the new plasma tech, or will they be useless?
I don't know. I'm not an electronic man. These are such an obsolete but advanced stage communication. Learn to use your soul, and then you'll be present in everywhere. One day I'll teach you the secret.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I have a question for you.
Yes, good afternoon, good morning.
Yes, going back to the balls that disappeared from the center, the centers that disappeared in some experiments, would you please explain whether the balls left in the form of fields or they were balls? That process, if you explain that again, will help us comprehend.
Can you repeat, please?
Or I am asking whether you could explain slowly in ways that we can understand where the balls in the rotating cores of some experiments by some of the students, the balls that disappeared, the central cores that disappeared. If you can explain the process of their disappearance. I know you explained that
they have not disappeared. They have not disappeared. You have to understand the containment of the field or the GANs was plastic. So compared to the energy transfer and conversion of the energy, CH bond has no strength. So it's not a ball which is left. It's the energy in conversion has taken the whole material as one plasma and is trajectoried. You'll never find a ball. I make a lot of jokes about it, but you'll never find a ball because you cannot reconstitute the ball somewhere else if the boundary was, or if the field forces were created inside. If the boundary field forces were outside, you can find a ball after the boundary fields balances with the environment. Those balls which have created internal structure, field forces by interaction of the external fields, they have already converted the fields of the container, which was a CH bond, the plastic or kind of plastic, have already converted it. Those of you who use glasses, ceramics, you've seen the explosion of, that could not happen. So the field forces could not overcome. That's why from the beginning of teaching, some 2 or 3 years ago, I said I prefer ceramic cores, crystal cores, because these have a certain structure that in that process do not, or at the same time, contain field forces due to reflection of the fields in the structure of the, what we call atomic structure of some elements. Deuterium, as I said, becomes itself one of the best crystal materials we know. So those of you who used plastic containers or plastic bowls and then the bowl have disappeared, in fact you have dissolved the totality, and in the pressurizing the system magnetic gravitationally, you have burst open this system, but your material is still inside, but due to the high fields you have dissolved the CH bond. I explained this in a very simple way recently about the hole in the heart of the man. How can instantaneously the hole in the heart of the man with the first breath changes? It's the same process. We have heart surgeons, we can ask our dear professor heart surgeon of the, what I call Ghanaian minister, Mr. what do you call him? Fampo Bonte. He can tell you, if you open a heart before birth, there is a hole in it. The minute you breathe, the hole closes. Why? Nobody comes and solves it. In the process, the hydrogen bond, which sits due to the GANS condition of the womb of the mother in a tritium condition, with the first breath, with a change of the pressure on the lung where new fields comes in, it changes to deuterium, becomes in conjunction with tritium soft tissue. If it goes with a hydrogen bond pressure, it becomes very hard tissue. Bone structure. In the field of plasma physics, the body of the man uses the knowledge of the universe so immaculately correct. If in space you want to create a wall, you need a combination of hydrogen and deuterium. If you want to create a soft but flexible, you need to add some tritium into it. Man will learn these things. In the structure, you want to have a flexible material, you only work with hydrogen, or what I call one proton element. And this is how the structure of the universe works. This is how the body of the man uses these knowledges. It's not that the ball has disappeared, we can't find it. It means the energy transfer within the plastic, because it's a CH bound, is much weaker, has become part of. If you measure all the liquids you collected, it's the same. But if you have, and you can create a field forces outside, that it can be transferred without the transformation of the container, you become a trajectory, you become a bullet. And you only can do that in plasma physics when you have pure deuterium, and deuterium which in balance with the fields of the environment manages to transfer itself to a crystal line of deuterium which becomes untouchable. Silver grayish in color.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
I hope I've explained.
Yes, you have, but we might have to go back and listen a few times. But thank you very much.
The lifetime is no problem.
I appreciate very much your answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kot, you can use this in the growth of the vegetation. You can use this, if you understand it, for, in a way, creating solid shells that, for example, beetles cannot go into like coconuts, but you have to understand. They can chew on it, but they cannot break it. Does not allow them to break into to damage the harvest, but you have to understand how you make it harder, just above that the animal cannot exist, but the fruit can nourish.
Thank you very much for the extra information, and I look forward to understanding that in the future.
You already understood. Go back to your soul, it'll explain it to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Any other question?
This is John again. Is that how the mosquito behaves when it sort of makes friends with you and just lands on your skin and doesn't bite you and sort of takes the energy, the necessary energy, and then leaves?
I don't know. I'm going to ask the mosquito. But it has to be understood what mechanism has decided to use. Scientifically, they say it synthesizes, uses chemicals for the skin, for you not to feel it, and it does the bite. But I can explain it in many different ways. But if you understand how nanotechnology changes conductive to resistive, when you're resistive, you do not. The chemical, what they call, it creates a current flow which nano-coats the skin so it can penetrate and do whatever it likes inside. It's much easier to define. And you can do it yourself.
Yes, well, what I find is I don't use any chemical or anything anti-mosquito stuff, but mosquitoes don't bite anymore. They sort of remain friendly with one and just don't bite.
We do the same here in Ghana. We take CO2 or zinc oxide. I had one occasion of a bite or 2 occasions, but that I could understand why. But we live what I call malaria-free, mosquito-free. We don't use any chemicals. We just take on regular basis certain gas waters. And even Alex was with us a few months ago, and he was always sick with malaria. And now he said he has no problems anymore. Alex, are you in the background? Do we see Alex anywhere? Hello?
There is an Alex in the attendees, but I'm not it's not Alex spelt the same way. It's just Alex.
No, it's not the right Alex, Rick.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? As I said before, the amount of knowledge we are giving is so enormous that it just becomes words. It has to be understood, and especially like today. Huge amount of knowledge. This is adding totally in the whole book of physics. I don't have time to write anymore, because teaching this way is much easier. Those who understand it, convert it and put it in part of the teaching of the books. It needs to be done, because the knowledge of past 3 weeks is a book of space. It has to be done. Those who transcribe, put it one after another and make a book out of it. It's free for humanity, because we've got to take man across in a smooth way. The only part you don't need to put is our discussion with our Ghanaian friends.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. Fo asks, how can we reach the soul of another planet. I can see how to do it with the free plasma or another being, but how to reach the soul of a planet and see its needs.
It is put it this way, you're here in number 1 and the planet is number 3. You still got to get yourself into there before you can get to there. And then if you go a bit deeper, you get the strength of the solar systems, and then the galaxies, and the universe. There is a dimension of existence which man with his present knowledge does not see, which sits amongst the galaxies. There is no free space, as I've taught many times before, between the galaxies or between the planets or between the stars. It's full of life. If we put what I call plasma visions on, we'll see a totally different existence. It's very much what we are looking at is like a little bit of a kidney, a little bit of heart, a little bit of arm, but what we don't see is all these are connected together with the muscles, the lymph and the skin, and hold together by the plasma of the universe. There is no, if you can find the empty space between your toe and your heart, going through your muscle tissue, that there is nothing there, even your lymph is not there, then it's reality about the creation of what we see as the universe as it is today. The universe is jam-packed, is everything placed into what it is and what's got to be. It's us who have to understand and be able to see the field. What's the other question, Rick?
There was a question about, can you explain what the neutrino does in the process of the separation of the neutron?
I've never understood this neutrino, whoever has made it, and it's supposed to exist. But thank you very much. What we have to, just 1 second please. Where is my indicator? So we have to understand this, that we are, we should, and we can extend the knowledge. But we have to understand the presence of the present knowledge. We appreciate what has been disclosed, what has been understood. For you, you listen to something because you are part of it, you're just walking through it. But you try to explain what I explained to nuclear physicists. There is something wrong with your head. You don't understand, this cannot be. And you common men of the planet grasp it very easily. It's like a water on the back of the tongue. It's so easy because I have brought you to understand the edge of science with the joy of science. And as I will say, physics has to be fun. When we enjoy it, when we see the pleasure of it, we learn it. If you go out and try to teach what I taught you this morning, that the center of the body becomes electron, is the center of the proton, and the neutron itself as an energy pack, they send you into mental institutes. Because actually they are mental, they never understood, but this is the extension of it. This is the extension of knowledge. But if I take you further even into the knowledge of the neutron and proton and the rest of it, we have to write the whole physics books. Because none of it makes sense in true essence of the knowledge of the universe. But at least man has found a way to express and explains what this is.
I have another question, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, Dr. God.
About the neutron dividing into proton and electron. Is that still the case even with the center moving out?
Yes. What do you mean center different?
So why do they have to be in pairs? Would you
They're
please
not in
explain?
pairs. It's the soul inside. It's not in pairs. We didn't have the GANs material when it was a full tank in pairs. In the division, the field forces and the GANs matter content of the neutron position itself. And it pulls, and field forces create that space inside in the center. It's very much like what we've seen with the joint of the sperm and egg. They're two separate, but in joining, they create a new dimension of field forces, which creates that center. One leads to the other, and in creating the other, it leads to the one. If you understand what it means. This is the process of the creation. It's the phase we go through. Pardon?
So what you're saying is one divides into two in all cases?
Always does. It doesn't divide to two. When the center becomes more powerful in a way that the totality due to energy changes in the boundary changes, or the leakage, or whatever you call it, it opens up to release the center that it can bring back itself to its balance.
I have a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome.
Does the proton go about generating a center? Can it? How does it?
Yes, again, it has to centralize itself. It's dynamic and it's rotating. It becomes another core with full tank. And in that process, the field energy, thank you very much. The field energy of it changes. That says what we see, this is what we understand. And now we have systems that they can show it. If you can extract what's in the center from one of dynamic cores, you have found yourself a stronger dynamic reactor for the next stage. But you know what you extracted, now will create a new matter environment for itself. This is how we travel the deeper spaces. The reactors.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
When you change the strength of the fields to the universal level, then you can travel the space, the deeper space. But then you have a problem that you can step down to universal. You go from galaxy to galaxy, and then you step down to solar system. Then you step down to Earth system. That's how you travel. This is how you change your speed. These are the deep knowledge of space travel. And in so many ways, gradually we are making you ready for that. I told you, next 30 days, the amount of knowledge we teach in 30 days has not been taught to man for 3 million years. Everything set is on the scientific basis. It's not just because. You saw yesterday how very easily you lot who made the GANs could understand how a minister has made a mistake but not understanding the new technology. This is why we asked the Ghanaian government to appoint a commission about the plasma technology, because it's a new science, it has to be taught. Africans learn it very fast to become leading in the technology. The present has to be kept because it keeps some order, but the new knowledge has to be added rapidly into the knowledge of the nations. The knowledge in the 35 days, we said it brings peace. You will understand why. Because it's so immense amount of knowledge that makes everything of the past obsolete. What's the use of fighting anymore? Over 25, 30 million, according to our report, have listened to the first teaching up to now. And they're still growing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You got to understand, don't be afraid of new knowledge. This is what the problem is. Not being afraid of new gain. Those are afraid because have to protect degrees and titles. In this space, there are no doctors, no PhDs. And believe it or not, we've never seen a prophet either. We have messengers, but not the profit makers. The process has to be very, very, very thorough. We have to come to understand the total knowledge and not be afraid of learning. Those who object to the new knowledge is that we want to keep on. I worked 30 years to get a PhD. You lot learn after I'm dead and my PhD is obsolete. Excuse me, sir. Toilet cleaning is a good job too. Because you have to wash the old knowledge. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Keshe. It's Pavel speaking from UK.
Pardon?
It's Pavel speaking from UK.
Yes, Pablo. How are you?
Yeah, no bad. Thank you very much, Mr.
How is the Polish community?
Growing.
Are you still teaching?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Share the knowledge of today with the people. Polish people are highly scientific.
Thank you indeed. Yeah. I've got a question. That what actually you told us today is actually mind-blowing in a way. If we want to open up the soul fields and expose them outside our physical body structure, do we have to slow down the operation of the heart?
No.
No? Right. Okay.
But would you like to kill yourself physically?
No, that's why I'm asking.
So find a way.
Okay.
There is an easy way. There is an easy way.
Yes.
It says, I'm going to go back in another point. What do you do when you fall in love? I put it in a nutshell yesterday. You travel across the world, you do anything to be with your love. Once you fall in love through your heart with humanity and peace and whatever matter, you can bring your heart to be close to your soul. If you understand the meaning. And then you don't need to create a departure of the two, you still keep the totality. And whenever you come to the next dimension, you allow the heart to find the position of the new dimension. And then you carry on with the same. That's how we carry with life, space, and deep space, those who travel in this way. You have to go to an electron or whatever. You can use your heart, and when I say you fall in love, it means getting closer to beloved. And then, if the love of the man is the heart of the man, you can do the same with your heart, through with your soul. So you reduce the dimension of physical and the entity as a whole. You stay at the energy level. And this is how it works. Then you don't need to die.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then I've got another one if I can, obviously.
Yes.
Can we recognize the building of structure around us, through our physical eyes? Can we recognize the shimmering and all this?
Yes, you can.
And
depends on the openness. Let me explain to you something. Yesterday I explained how the soul leaves the body of the man through the eye of the man. Because it's always focused on something. Have you noticed when you die, most of the time your eyes stay open? Why? Because it's the channel of the pathing of the soul. That's the way I'm going out, so I keep the doors open. One day man will learn. You don't shut the door and get out, do you?
No, not really. It's really.
Now you understand. Maybe we solve another mystery of life. Those who we see with the shut eye, the soul has already left.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? As I said, we don't need to stretch to 3 hours just to cover the 3 hours. We teach so much in depth, in actual fact, that is exhausting. In so many ways, we need to understand more, but we need to understand in depth. And if we understand in depth, the knowledge becomes sweet to absorb, to understand. And if you listen to today's teaching, the knowledge dispersed and dispenses with changes the history of man in so many ways in deeper space. As I said, we do more and more. I'm teaching a number of people in such a way that we can produce spaceships beyond the imagination of man with the fuels which, in a way, in a nutshell, I've taught the principle. Any other question?
Jamila says in the Q&A, can we say and confirm the sentence that nothing is created, but everything is only a transformation?
Read the back of book number 2 or 3. God is creator and man. Anybody's got the book with them? Just 1 second. Page 259, number 1. If you can hear me, page 259, it says, God has been the creator of all, and man the converter of some. It's good when you have a book handy, at least the one you wrote. One day I have to read my books. That's one of my missions. Any other question?
Yes, in the live stream, Jan says, question, how to, by will, access our soul and use it as the most powerful tool to change different conditions in our life and our surrounding.
You do it already. But
the
you don't know
easiest
how.
way to access our soul by demand.
Why? Is it television or internet? Pay-per-view, we call it.
Yeah, how do we pay per view then for the soul? There must be soul food that we have to offer in order to get the soul to come out.
For it first. We have to make a currency for it first so that we can get paid.
It's sure not coin of the realm or coin of the land, right? Money
I
won't
don't
work.
know. It could be bitcoins, but a bit we don't know.
How about a bit of love? Would that entice the soul to come out?
Shall we sell by measure? No,
Maybe we should sell bitcoins of love instead.
We open a new bank. I don't think they love the currency. It took them a long time to get the brick currency in. What is interesting is, do we need these kind of things? Or do we live in a way that I want to be happy and my happiness is what it is? Would the other souls allow me to have it? That's my wish. And my wish is to make happy for them, to be able that I can please their wishes. Then you'll see the next step of development.
Keshe?
Yes?
Good day, Mr. Keshe. Jalal here.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good night also.
What time is it for you?
It's already, I'm in Europe.
Carry on.
Is our world is a challenge place for the messengers?
Oh, this is a difficult question. At the time when there are messengers, before they convert and lose their position, because they change their position, their advantage of their physicality, yes. We know when Christ received it, many nights he cried. In not wanting to fail. And fear of failing brought him failure because he could not take it, to see how hard it was to teach man. If you think we have a rough time with Mr. Lawrence, we should have seen what Christ went through. Close community, totally ignorant to the truth. Judas has found a new name. You should have seen the rest of the, what I call, Jewish community. The people in point of power do not like to release the power. They find any excuse. We see now this with members of the Universal House of Justice. The wish and the order of the Master has been creation of peace, and when you offer it to them, they don't know what to do, because it means they have to relinquish their seat. And it was the same during the time of Christ, but he could see the way. Something they believe me. He got to the point of becoming a magician and a messenger. Then he got paid as a magician, was not accepted as a messenger. This time we don't do, we teach with the will and we teach with the knowledge. There is no magic. As I said, I could do everything. Do you know how many times Belgium intelligence broke into our house to see there is this nuclear reactor which doesn't exist? And I said to Caroline, I'm the last one to use my system, because they break in to see what I have and then accuse me of something, so they could find one. Because this time there is no magic. In my teaching I always say, I'll leave it to you to do it, I'll guide you, because then when you do it, the others do it, as so easily. We just had. The guy said, what about the balls which have been missing by the others who've done so? I can do magic and show you everything, God. But it doesn't help, because the guy in Amazon hasn't seen the magic, he won't believe it. The magic this time is to touch the soul of the man across this planet. And then with it, we touch the soul of the whole creation, plant and animal. Then we change the totality. The challenge is very hard, but it's very easy. But on the other hand, as I always say, I have the time of the universe. I survived and I lasted. As Arman keeps on telling me, you have patience, Mr. Keshe. I said, you haven't seen it yet. I've been waiting for some things for millions of years to join. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Shall we call it a day?
Yes, we need processing time.
You have a few million years just for the past 2 hours. Thank you very much. We come back at 2 o'clock. I would like to invite the medical groups, medical doctors to join us in this teaching. Because it's time to enlighten our doctors, the path of the biology of the man, and see what we can do. They've done a lot of good work in the background, and it's time to add to the knowledge of the physicians. If there are any doctors, when we come back to o'clock.
We all doctors, Mr. Keshe.
I see Dr. Rodrigo.
Yes, I'm here. I will ask him to join you, Mr. Keshe.
Can you repeat?
Yes. Once we start the doctor's class, I will ask him to join you. So today we have the class at 5. So I'm going to attend it and ask him to join your class instead of having our private class. Is that what you meant?
Still there, Mr. Keshe?
I'm sure that's what he meant.
I said yes. Yes, this is what I meant. Sorry, I forgot to switch over from microphone to microphone. Yes, this is what we are doing. We're inviting you doctors to join us this afternoon. And let's see what you have to say and what we can add to the knowledge of your field of expertise. Maybe we bring a new dimension, new knowledge, and we learn from you that you bring us some of the knowledge you have gained in the plasma technology. So this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we come back, we spend time with our doctors, with our specialists, and we'll let you to ask questions and the others can listen to. If that's okay with the doctors.
They are ready to join.
Pardon?
They are ready to join you, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Klaus. So we'll see you in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. And we try to add to the knowledge of our physicians and see if we can add some, even though they're experts in the field of their expertise. Thank you very much. It's going to be a very big challenge. You'll come back at 2 o'clock. If there are no other questions.
Well, there's a couple of other questions, of course, but...
You never finishes your questions. How come you have all the questions, Rick? You've been asking questions for nearly 3-4 years. You never stop. But you put the name of the others. Just 1 second, please. Yep. Have we run out of questions?
Well, like we were saying, we never run out of questions, and for every question, there seems to be more questions that come out of it. So the more questions we ask, the more questions we get. But maybe we could ask one or two more if you think.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. If it's short and sweet, yeah.
Okay, well, this fun asks in the Q&A, why when people who are having their soul passage activated in front of the eyes, when they die and leave from their soul seat, the body does not get stiff and won't decay as long as it is not buried in the soil? Not sure if that.
Okay.
I'm sure if that quite made sense.
Doesn't make sense. It rots very quickly. Okay, the next question. Or rephrase that we understand it.
Yeah, it's awkward, and I think I know what they're saying, but I'm not clear on that.
So we pass this question.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, Ruthie asks, is there some incantation that can have special vibration to elevate the souls?
Excuse me, your English is too good. Explain. We are a bunch of speaking English, not understanding English. I know exactly what, but explain the word that people can understand.
Yeah, there's some incantation, and incantation would be something that was said that would be like an affirmation or some sort of appeal to some other entity, or it might be just saying some phrase.
Why does man always look? That's why I wanted you to, that word I was looking for, you come with. Why do we have to have something to trigger something? We haven't gained trust in ourselves that we can do. We don't need to trigger. We can wish.
Well, that's the thing, I guess, that people have this thing that we need some sort of trick to trick ourselves into it.
This is what I said, comes from lack of confidence.
Or lack of skill, perhaps, yeah. Or maybe it's lack of knowledge as well. So so what about things, Mr. Keshe, such as song or music, or people say prayers with each other, and you could say that they are incantations. Are they not useful to elevate the soul?
I don't know. Are they? Or is what I keep on saying and nobody hears? Maybe now you understand. Why do we pray? But if praying is giving, then where do we bank this energy? Except in our own soul. When we pray for our parents, say, Mom, I hope, peace, whatever, we dial the telephone number. When we pray to God, and then we say, I made the man in the image of myself, we are banking into our soul. We pray for ourselves. And this is what I keep on saying and nobody hears. You say, how do we elevate our souls? Bank it the correct way with the right ethos, and then you will understand, you elevate yourself. I want to love. I want to love humanity. I want to love the creation. And with it, I give everything to creation. You say, I love you, God. I give you my soul, God. When loving is part of yours, then you understand Man has been banking in the wrong bank, or have we never understood the banking system is within us. We are the bankers. Now Vatican has closed. Because now we found the bank of God. It's called the soul of man. Can you please return all the funds? Any other question?
This is John here again.
Hello.
What happens when you got these sort of saints or holy people that perish and their body doesn't deteriorate?
I did not hear any of it. I was out of line.
What happens with the saint people or holy people when they perish and their bodies don't deteriorate?
Have you seen one?
Not in person, but we have many reports on this.
How can you perish and not deteriorate? What does perish then?
Well, does this mean then that their souls still remain in their body?
Has anybody been inside to check? Any other question, or shall we call it a day? We come back at 2 o'clock and we try to understand more about with our physicians. I think it's a good time to bring them in to add, because what they bring adds to the piece. Thank you very much. We'll see you in about a couple of hours or so. Is that okay with you, Rick?
Certainly, Mr. Keshe. Yes, of course.
Absolutely exhausted. These things takes a lot of energy. I'm an old man, nearly 60 years old. 6 hours is too much.
I remember when I used to be that young too.
My God, you're not that young. Was it last year or the week before?
Pardon me? Was what?
Was it last year or the week before?
Well,
we don't mention. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. See you in a couple of hours.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you indeed. Bye.
Okay, that'll bring to a close the day 8 morning session for Wednesday, July 12th, 2017. Blueprint for Peace for Humanity. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and stay tuned for about 2 hours from now for the afternoon session. Okay, I'll end the live stream.